WNDU TV, Channel 16, South Bend. Newscenter 16 with Mike Collins and Maureen McFadden. Weather with Dick Addis and Jeff Jeffers with sports.
It's a happy day for the family of at least one hostage held in Beirut.
For the fifth time in as many months, a Western hostage has been freed by his captors. Today, Irishman Brian Keenan was released after spending 4 years in captivity. Keenan was a teacher at the American University in Beirut when he was kidnapped by pro-Iranian gunmen. Keenan is reportedly on his way to Damascus, where an Irish envoy is waiting to take him home to Dublin. 13 Westerners, including 6 Americans, are still thought to be held by extremist groups in Lebanon. Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait is in a virtual state of siege tonight, with Iraqi troops preventing anyone from leaving or entering the grounds. The U.S. remains defiant, and the skeleton staff is in constant touch with the State Department. We have more from Washington.
The invasion of Kuwait has taken a new turn, with a virtual state of siege at the U.S. Embassy. The State Department says Iraqi soldiers stationed at the gate are refusing to let anyone in or out.
It's certainly harassment, and it's certainly an attempt to make it difficult for the embassy to carry out its functions.
It's a diplomatic last stand for the skeleton staff left behind.
The United States will maintain its embassy in Kuwait with a small staff, headed by Ambassador Nathaniel Howe, to look after the interests of the American community there, and as a symbol of our rejection of Iraq's illegal occupation and annexation of Kuwait.
Howell and his staff are on a virtual open line with the State Department. The scenario was much like Iran in 1979, just before the U.S. Embassy was invaded. Bruce Langan was in charge then, and he knows what Howell must be going through.
And I'm sure he's been given very detailed instructions as to how to proceed, as I understand it, including not resisting with force should the Iraqis decide to penetrate.
At the State Department, a 24-hour task force is fielding calls from worried relatives of 2,500 other Americans trapped in Kuwait and several hundred in Iraq. Through its computers, the task force relays information to families in the U.S. passed from embassy officials in Iraq and Kuwait. But information gathering in those countries is becoming dangerous.
Embassy communication with American citizens is difficult because of the restraints put on the movement of our embassy staff, and because we know the Iraqis monitor our calls in attempt to locate Americans.
The Iraqi deadline has passed, and the American embassy in Kuwait remains open. What happens next is up to the Iraqis and the staff of the American embassy. As the State Department says, Ambassador Howell is the captain of his ship. Frances Harden, the State Department.
And we'll take a closer look at the Middle East crisis later in the show as preparations continue tonight at Grissom Air Force Base. But first, a look at other news in Michiana. An arrest has been made for a West Side murder earlier this week. Police believe the person responsible for the shooting death is a 15-year-old boy. They won't release his name because he is a juvenile. They will say he was arrested this morning in the 300 block of LaPorte Avenue as a result of information received from a confidential informant. The body of 32-year-old Van Fisher was found slumped in his truck near the intersection of Walnut and Jefferson at about 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Police believe he'd been shot through the truck window about 3 blocks away near Cherry and Washington Streets. Police originally interviewed 2 juveniles in connection with the crime. They also searched a house on Cherry Street. No motive for the murder has been released.
A 6-year-old boy was killed tonight in Elkhart when he ran out from between 2 parked cars. Police identified the child as Demetrius Parks, Park Street in Elkhart. The accident happened at Park and 3rd. Authorities said the boy ran into traffic and was struck by a car traveling westbound. He was taken to Elkhart General Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. The accident remains under investigation. Fulton and Lake counties have been declared state disaster areas tonight in the wake of last weekend's extensive flooding. Governor Evan Bayh signed the emergency declaration today after inspecting flood damage in both counties. After talking with flood victims and volunteers around Lake Manitowoc in Rochester, Bayh commended the community for working so well together to meet the crisis.
Well, my first reaction is that we have some wonderful people here at the local level who've responded to this. Also, the state of morale of the citizens who've been affected is fantastic. Having gone through adversity, they're still very positive, wanting to rebuild.
Estimates of flood damage in Fulton County run as high as $2 million. Bai's emergency declaration will clear the way for federal emergency officials to inspect the area and will likely lead to low-interest loans for residents, businesses, and community agencies. Meanwhile, relief operation headquarters are located and continue to operate in the St. Joseph's Church Parish Hall in Rochester.